Good morning. It is Tuesday, November 3rd at about 9:35 in the morning. My name is Larry Cedar, and I'm back with you for another session on Sqanning, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G. Sqanning is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. So we're here, as always, to practice. I try to practice every day, a couple times a day, just to get better at the technique. It's very simple to learn. I always say the most challenging part about Sqanning is starting, just allowing yourself to take a moment to let go of everything. You know, I've always been a bit of a contrarian, a rebel, I guess you could say. I don't think of myself as a rebel, but I guess rebellious. If someone told me to go left, I always said, well, I'd rather go right, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of people are like that. And what comes with that is a sort of rejection of popular culture. When people say something's amazing or fantastic, you got to see this movie, you got to do this thing, you got to think about that, you got to think about that. I have a tendency to say, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I never liked running with the crowd. And today's election day, and everybody under the sun is talking about the election. Every news station is going over the prospects of the two candidates and what's going to happen, and you know, predictions and so forth. And it sort of kind of makes me feel like not thinking about the election at all. So you're not going to hear me talking about the election today. I already voted. I'm done. And so I'm going to do what I find the most fascinating in life, and that is to let go of the conventional, to let go of structures and sort of ideas and concepts that we work so hard to create. Because what we do here with Sqanning is we expand. If bringing together thoughts, ideas, materials, and so forth in pursuit of a goal or a concept is contraction, squeeze your hands together, that's what it feels like, then expansion is the opposite, letting go. 3, 2, 1, release. So that's what I find fascinating, particularly at times when the entire world is contracting. I find it most interesting and productive to do the opposite, expand. So if you want to think about the election, this is not the place to be today. Today we're going to think about nothing. Which leads me to my second thought of the day. You know, when people get old, they say that it's because there's a deterioration of the mind and so forth, and they become forgetful. Their capacity to think and remember diminishes, and there's been talk about that with one of the presidential candidates and so forth, and it's a very real thing. My parents went through it, and I'm sure you know people who have. There's another theory out there that says people don't become senile, if you will, because their capacity to think is diminished. They become senile because they've spent a lifetime, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, accumulating information, accumulating thought processes, accumulating opinions, positions, ideas, as it were, contracting. And you literally build a web around yourself. As your life continues, you think more, you know more people, you've taken more positions, and you literally build a sort of conceptual cage around yourself, and you restrict, ultimately, and limit your capacity to think and remember, because you have an overload. An overload. You've spent a life contracting, defining who you are, finding out who you are, what you think, what you believe in, what you've built, the money you've saved, the career. You spend a lifetime doing this, and it becomes like a ball of twine just wrapped around your very being that just ties you up in knots, and you can't even move. So if you go along with that theory, then if you want to stay young, if you want to stay free, flexible, aware, open, alert, perhaps the thing to do is not to accumulate more information, but to dump information, to let yourself be free of concepts, ideas, positions, theories, religions, political positions. Just drop it all. Let it go. Expand. So that's another reason I'm fascinated by this process, because I think it's actually an incredible way to free your mind, of the structures and constrictions you've worked so hard to build. So that's enough lecture for today. Let's get into it. Let's practice Sqanning. Sqanning, again, is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension, 3, 2, 1, release, to induce a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. So let's get started. Squeeze your hands together. Tight. That's contraction. Okay, so let's just for a moment imagine this is us today, election day. And this is our political position. This is all the arguments we've had. This is all the things we think about the various candidates. This is all the opinions we have about their policies, what they've done, what they say they're going to do. It's all in here. We've talked to dozens of people. We've read hundreds of articles. We've watched tens of hours of television. and absorbed political analysis from every known pundit under the sun. So this is us. We got it all together here, okay? Now you did it. You put together your position, your idea. You tried to persuade others. You did the best you could to establish this position in your life. So we're all pretty wound up now because we've really worked hard to get to this place. And whether you voted or didn't, you're still holding on to that position. And maybe that makes you feel good, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it makes you feel tense. Maybe it makes you feel wound up, anxious, concerned. Maybe you'd rather not spend the whole day nervous, anxious, concerned. Well, guess what? You don't have to. We always have the choice. The power is always within us. And still, squeeze your hands. That's you. To let go, to expand, the opposite of contraction. How do we do it? Just decide. 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands to your sides. Take a deep, deep breath. Take a moment to realize that if you never turned on the television today, if you never spoke to anyone about the election, if you never read anything about it, assuming you've already voted, you could spend the rest of the day doing something else, thinking about something else, going someplace, having a nice meal, visiting with friends, taking a trip, reading a book, relaxing. And you could wake up tomorrow morning and you could read the paper and you could see what happened. That's an option. Or you can spend the day completely focused on how things are going. So it's a choice. Now I just made a choice to go from contraction, holding on, to release. 3, 2, 1, expansion, letting go. I took a deep breath. We always have the capacity to let go. We always have within us the capacity to choose our state of consciousness. Regardless of the circumstances swirling around us, we always have it within us to let go. To go to a place of neutrality, silence, stillness, calm, peace. It's a choice. Sqanning uses the incremental release of muscular tension, make a fist, 3, 2, 1, release, to induce a state of expansion. When you expand your musculature, that brings your body into a more expanded, free, open state. This in turn influences your emotions and your mind. If you think of your mind as a muscle, holding on tightly to concepts, ideas, anxieties, compulsions, worries, as your muscles relax, your mind is influenced. This is the trick of sqanning. The body can affect the mind. As you release the musculature, your mind, in turn, relaxes and lets go of all your worries and concerns. Now, if I told you it was possible right now to go to a place where you literally didn't care who won the presidency, you'd say, that's impossible. I'm so invested. I'm so invested. My candidate has got to win. If he doesn't, it's the end of the world. And that might feel good to you. That struggle, that fight might feel good. That structure, that contraction you've developed might feel good to you. But if you think about it, it's sort of not good for you. You've constricted yourself. You've wound yourself up. So if you could have a way to let go of all of that and just for a moment, just decide it just didn't matter. No matter what happened, everything was going to be fine. It might be interesting to try that, to make that choice. 3, 2, 1, release. Take 3 deep breaths. And sit for 15 seconds in absolute stillness and silence. Deep breath. So we've stepped away. And if you can imagine for a moment, out of this entire day, the next 12 hours, shall we say, taking half an hour to step away from everything that's going on in the world, and just come to this place of peace, silence, stillness, calm. If you can imagine that if you step away, when we finish, it will still be there. You can go back to it. But if you can imagine, is it possible for a half an hour to just not care? To just let the world be what it is? To let whatever happens, happen? To detach, to step away, and come back to yourself. Let go of all the constructions, the structures, the contracts you've been building over the past 6 months, year. Let them all go and just be. I would suggest to you that it is. And through the incremental release of muscular tension, you can induce this state of complete and total calm. And then it just becomes a day like any other. It becomes a moment like any other. There's no past, there's no future, there's just now. You just exist. So, if you're interested and willing, let's continue down that path. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. Now, I want you to feel what that feels like. Again, this is you bringing all your thoughts, ideas, efforts together to form a career, to have relationships, to advance your political agenda, your religious beliefs, your moral standing. This is you working very hard to make a life for yourself, to identify yourself. This is who I am. We work very hard to do that, and that's essential in life. You have to have an identity. You have to have conviction. You have to achieve. You have to have a goal. But we can become overly contracted. And when we do, that feels bad. So when you feel bad, you have a solution. You have a choice. You can do the opposite. Expand. Let it all go. 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands to your sides. Take 5 deep breaths. Breaths are expansive by nature. Excuse me 1 second. Breaths are expansive by nature. When you take breaths, it forces your body to physically expand. Again, we're working on the incremental release of muscular tension. So take 5 deep, deep breaths, followed by 30 seconds of absolute stillness and silence. Again, we're moving away from contraction and into an expanded state. 5 deep breaths. Here we go. Last one. 30 seconds, absolute stillness and silence. Just count slowly to 30. Deep breath. Now, I do these sessions for myself as well as for whoever should happen to join. So I'm experiencing this along with you because I very much believe in this process and I practice it several times a day, and this is what I call my public sessions when I do it with others. But I tend to have the same experience. And I've just begun. We've just begun the process. These are what I call the preliminary steps, the deep breath followed by stillness and silence. But already I'm feeling a change. And this sounds strange and maybe even rude, but what I begin to feel is a sensation of I don't care. Whatever I've been worried about, whatever my concerns have been, whatever my physical being was moving towards, whatever effort I was making, however I had defined myself, I've stepped away from. I've moved away from. I'm coming to a place of neutrality, stillness, silence, and calm. It's just me, a human being, breathing, heart beating, lungs filling and expending air. I just exist as a physical being. So with regards to all the concerns that I brought with me to this session, which I always carry with me, concerns about my career, my relationships, my life, politics today in particular, I just care a little bit less. Now you might say, well, that's cold. I don't want to become an unfeeling person, but it's not that. It's not that I don't care. I mean, I intellectually care, I emotionally care, but I've stepped away from the physical effort to engage with that problem. I've detached. At this moment, I care a little less about confronting or engaging with that problem. It's not essential. The level of compulsion has dissipated. I no longer feel as though there's something I need to be doing, something I need to be saying, something I need to be thinking about. That's just dissipating. I don't need to do anything but just sit here and exist. That's expansion. And for me, it's always a tremendous relief. So I like to, as I say, bring myself to this place at least a couple of times a day. Let's continue. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. That's what we do 90% of our day. We work, we talk, we tweet, we post, we think, we argue. We maintain our position in society. We maintain our career. We hold on to our money. We spend it effectively or ineffectively sometimes. We live a life. That's fantastic. The only problem is when we become overly contracted. Then you become constrained, restricted, shut off, impermeable, solid, unable to merge effectively with life, distracted, confused, nervous, anxious. So squeeze your hands tight together. That's what you feel like. And it feels bad. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the normal outcome of living a full, active life. We try hard. But sometimes you get to where you're trying too hard, and you know it because you feel bad. Keep squeezing your hands together. And that's when you say, I need a drink, I need a joint, I need a pill, I need a vacation. You need to expand. You understand it instinctively, but you don't know how. So you reach for external processes to achieve that result. But you don't need to do that. You could do it yourself. We have within us the tools. It's a choice. It's as simple as that. 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands to your sides. Take 7 deep, deep breaths followed by a full minute, 60 seconds of absolute stillness and silence. 7 breaths. Here we go. 3 more expansive breaths. Last one. 60 seconds of absolute stillness and silence. Thirty more seconds. Ten more seconds. Deep breath. Just take a moment to register whatever changes you may be experiencing. I always say the hardest part about scanning is starting. Because to scan is to make a choice to incrementally release muscular tension, to in effect let go. Sometimes the hardest thing to do in our life is to let go. We hold on to so many things. Our identity, our politics, our goals, our career, our money, our relationships. We hold on to our fears. We hold on to our anxiety because we think that by thinking about a problem, we can control it. We imagine that by thinking about a problem, we can control the past and the future, but you can't. So there's really no need to hold on to your anxiety. There's a superstitious sense that if I stop worrying or thinking about X, Y, or Z, I'll lose control of that concept, goal, idea, possession. So I must think about it all the time. It's a way of trying to control the universe, when in fact we have no real control over anything except our own state of being. You can afford to let it all go, but that's scary. So as I always say, the hardest thing is to begin. One of the great things about this practice as I've prescribed it, is that it's as simple as taking a breath. Taking a breath is one of the most fundamentally expansive acts you can take on a physical level. And we are working on the physical. We're not trying to convince ourselves mentally. We got ourselves into this state by thinking. You can't think your way out of a thinking problem. We bypass the thinking process and we go to the body and we expand muscularly. Muscularly, we release muscular tension. So you might try it as an experiment sometime. If you find yourself obsessively thinking about something, I can't stop thinking about this problem. I got to think about it. I'm worried about it. I can't sleep. I can't do anything. I can't stop thinking about this problem. What's going to happen? What did happen? What can I do to fix the past or control the future? Try, as an experiment, just sitting and releasing muscular tension. Put all of your focus into the incremental release of muscular tension. Make that your goal. Make that your job for 5 minutes. Just try it. And we're going to begin that in a moment. I guarantee you that if you focus completely on the release of muscular tension, that will induce a state of expansion within your body that will influence your mind, which is holding on to that obsessive thought and anxiety. It will let go, and that thought will just float away. Now, the problem will still exist, but you won't be holding on to it so tightly. It will be away from you. You will have disengaged. You will have come to a calm, still place. You can then return to the problem when you're ready and engage more effectively because you have a clear, calm mind. So let's move into this process, which I call the incremental release of muscular tension. Let's give it a try, see how it feels. We're very good at contracting. We're very good at forming ideas, making plans, holding on to our theories, our ideas, our political beliefs, our religion. We're very good at contracting. That's contraction. That's why we squeeze our hands to start these sessions, because I want you to feel on a physical level, this is what we're doing in life. We're holding on, as they say, for dear life. We're keeping it together. We're very good at that, and that's great. That's what makes you an effective person in the world. Your ability to achieve, to make plans, goals, and follow them through. However, we're not so good at the opposite, 3, 2, 1, release. Why? Because it feels instinctively not constructive to do nothing, to let go. How does that accomplish anything? We feel, I must do. What do I do? How often have you heard someone say, I got to do something about this. What do I do? What should I do? What did I do? We're very good at the doing. We're not so good at the undoing. So it's surprising to some people to understand or absorb the truth, which is that letting go is equally effective. In life, we move between contraction and expansion. To have a successful, effective life, you want to be somewhere in the middle, centered. You need both contraction and expansion. So we're not as practiced at letting go. Letting go. Letting go. Take a deep breath. We're just not good at that. We know instinctively we need it. That's why we say, I need a drink, I need a joint, I need a pill, I need a vacation. I need to get the F out of here. I need to just let go, but we don't know how. We know how to use a chemical process to induce expansion within us. We know we can do things which make us feel good. Eating a chocolate cake makes you feel good. When you feel good, you're expanding. So we know how to do that. We don't know instinctively how to just do it ourselves because it's scary. It feels instinctively dangerous to let go. On some level today, a large majority of people are thinking, if I don't stop thinking about my candidate and wanting him to win, he'll lose. So I have to think about it and worry about it all day. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you voted, you're done. So you can literally not think about it for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the year. What's going to happen is going to happen. But we instinctively hold on out of our need for security. So scanning is the practice of letting go, particularly through the incremental release of muscular tension. Because it's not instinctive, because it feels dangerous, we practice. We practice to get better at it, and we practice to teach ourselves, remind ourselves of its value. The value of bringing ourselves to a calm, still, relaxed, open, expanded space. So let's get started. The incremental release of muscular tension is the key. And what we do is we divide the body up into zones, muscular zones, and we work on the body one zone after another. You work your way through your body, you scan your body, looking for pockets of muscular tension, and you release that tension. And as you begin to move through your body, the body begins to get in line with this program and starts to let go. And you find yourself coming into that state of just complete release and relaxation, which in turn calms your mind. And if you want to know what that feels like, well, after you've had a couple of shots, what do you feel like? You're just like, whoa. That's a chemically induced expansion. It'd be great if it wasn't so freaking bad for your health and addictive and destructive in so many ways. Nothing wrong with drinking, but it can be a problem. This is a natural, instinctive way to let go. So here we go. Zone 1 is the face. On my count, I want you to release the muscles of your face. What does that mean? Just let them go. And you can see it if you look in a mirror. 3, 2, 1, release. Like a fist. 3, 2, 1, release. That's all we're doing. That's scanning, the incremental release of muscular tension. That's it. You just learned the entire technique. Now, if you're anything like me, you'll practice it for the rest of your life to get better and better and better at it because the results are amazing. The face. 3, 2, 1. Just let it go. Take a deep breath. Now, any or all of this process might feel scary, unsettling, weird, because we're moving states of consciousness from contraction to expansion. It feels vulnerable. It feels unsteady. It can feel dangerous. It can feel like a quote-unquote waste of time. It can feel boring. We have a natural resistance to letting go. All that is fine. Every time I practice this, I feel resistant. I literally find my body saying, I don't want to do this. I've done this for years. Thousands of hours. I know how good it feels when I've passed through to an expanded state, and yet my body always resists, so that's natural. The face, 3, 2, 1, release. Now let's move quickly through these zones. Don't think too much about it. The top of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. And if you don't feel a release per se, just thinking about it has an effect. The great thing about this process is you can't contract and expand at the same time. You can't make a fist and release a fist at the same time. Impossible. So even just thinking about expansion moves you into a more expanded state. When you are expanding or even thinking about expanding, you're moving away from contraction. So don't judge the results. Just involve yourself in the process of expansion and you will feel the change. The top of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. And if you feel other parts of your body let go, that's natural. Your body is very much a whole. We call it the head, the knee, the foot, but it's just your body. So everything that's happening in one part of your body will affect and color the sensations in the other. So if other parts of your body start to let go as you're focusing on one part, that's totally natural. Zone 3, the back of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. And start to think of scanning as a substitute. When you have the urge or impulse to play a video game, try 5 minutes of scanning first. When you feel the urge to light up a cigarette, try 5 minutes of scanning first. You can go have your cigarette, but just start to instruct and train yourself to realize that this is a go-to solution. It takes a little more work, a little more concentration, but ultimately it's healthier and better for you and has a more long-term and lasting result. You want to make expansion as much a part of your life as contraction. Think about how much you contract all day long. To have a balanced life between contraction and expansion, to be centered, you need to have an equal amount of expansion. So you're beginning to infuse your life with an element of expansion. Zone 4 is the neck. 3, 2, 1, release. And I felt my shoulders drop. That's what'll happen. Everything's connected. Again, the neck. 3, 2, 1, let it go. Release. Take a deep breath. Breaths are expansive by nature. I always say if you do nothing else, if you learn nothing else from these sessions, take away with you from these sessions that when in doubt, when in trouble, when you feel bad, when you are overly contracted, just take a deep breath. Take several deep breaths, sit for stillness and silence, and then repeat. This will nudge you towards a more expanded state. If you feel an impulse to breathe in the midst of this process, always take it. Contraction is a holding of sorts. That's why they have the expression, holding your breath. As you begin to expand, you can release and breathe. Zone 5 is the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, let them drop. Release. Again, the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. Now, if you have been putting your full concentration into this process, you may notice that you have stopped thinking about other things which may have been bothering you. And I'm particularly interested in this session today because I know everyone's thinking quite intently about the election. So let's see if it's possible to not for the next 10, 15 minutes. See if it changes the course of the world. Are we holding up the world? Not necessarily. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. When I am in a completely expanded state, and I've got there occasionally, not always, and again, it doesn't matter. The slightest amount of expansion is valuable. But when I have brought myself to a completely expanded state, I find that I could just sit for an hour and do absolutely nothing and be completely content. When you've detached from all the things you make, all the things you think define you, that make you feel alive, that make you have value. When you've detached from all those things, there's just you. The beating of your heart, the coursing of your blood, the breathing of your lungs, the sensations of skin, the sound of the room. It's an astounding place to be. And I'm such a compulsive person. I'm such a goal-oriented person that I have to go through this to get myself there. I mean, it's very difficult for me after all these years of practice to allow myself to come to a place of nothingness. It feels so instinctively wrong. What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. What's going on? Am I bored? Am I scared? What am I? This is weird. I'm doing nothing. I'm just sitting. And then I go, yeah, but it feels so good. I've detached. I've disengaged from all the hundreds, thousands of things which I have come to believe define me. My career, my political beliefs, my hobbies, the internet, my phone, television, books, magazines, newspapers. I've stepped away from all of that for a moment, just a moment. It's freaking great. I'm free. I'm free. Just existing, just being in the moment is not only enough, it's everything. I've come back to myself. This is the goal of scanning. This is the goal of expansion. Letting go, detaching, 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 coming to a neutral, calm, still place. There are many ways to get here. You could call this a form of meditation. This is just a way that I devised. I discovered that through the incremental release of muscular tension, by releasing the muscular tension in my body, it induced a state of expansion, calm, stillness throughout my entire being and consciousness. My mind cleared, and I found myself still and content. It never ceases to amaze me. It doesn't logically make sense. If someone comes to you and says, I have a problem, what should I do? To say to them, just sit in stillness and silence and do nothing. Take some deep breaths. They go, are you crazy? I have to deal with this problem. It doesn't make sense. But it's the absolutely best solution to that problem. Because expanding, coming back to a place of neutrality, nothingness, clears the slate. Clears away all the confusion, concepts, thoughts that you're holding on to. Creates an open space through which to analyze and effectively deal with whatever problem you're facing. But you have to take that moment to clear the space. That's what's difficult. People don't want to let go. I don't want to let go. I'm not saying it's not me. I do the same thing. I want to hold on to that concern, that worry, that idea. It just seems imminent. Time is imminent. I have no time. It must be taken care of. It must be dealt with. It's bothering me. I must somehow fix it. So it seems incredibly counterintuitive to stop thinking about it as a solution, and yet that's the solution. Once you've come to this calm, still, centered place, you go back to the problem and you look at it with a clear eye. You see it for what it is. You're no longer overthinking it, you're just seeing it for what it is. It's just this. I just have to make a choice, that's all. I might make the wrong choice. I might make the right choice. But I'll give it a shot. But I'm calm. This problem, you come to realize, is not the greatest problem in the world. It's just one of a million things we deal with. You deal with it, you get on with your life. Zone 5, let's repeat the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. And again, if you're just focusing on incremental muscular release, you will begin to feel this change. Zone 6 is the chest, the stomach, and the front of the waist, the front of the body, the plate of armor, I guess, if you will. 3, 2, 1, let it go. Release. And again, you're looking for that slight change from this to this. Again, 3, 2, 1, release. And if you find yourself saying, I don't know what that feels like, just to always go back to this. 3, 2, 1, release. Can you do that? 3, 2, 1, release. Can you do that? Look at your face in the mirror. 3, 2, 1, release. You did that. Muscles are all the same. They all work the same way. If you can release this muscle, you can release this muscle. We practice scanning because we're refamiliarizing ourselves with our innate ability to do that. We've forgotten. We know how to contract. We know how to hold. We know how to effort. We don't know how to let go. So we practice. You go through the entire body, and then you do it again. However much time you can put into this process, that's how much better you will get at it. And I always like to say, it doesn't matter how far you relax. It doesn't matter how far you expand. Even just thinking about it begins to move you down the path towards expansion. Zone 7 is down the back and into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. Again, the back down into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. One more time, the back down into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. Think about how much time you spend watching television, being online, playing video games. 2, 3 hours a day. Take a slice of that, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and substitute that contraction, because that is a contraction, watching television, playing a video game, reading a newspaper, studying web pages. It's a contraction. You're absorbing information, you're piecing it together, you're processing it, you're making thoughts and ideas as a result of what you're absorbing or doing. You're using your musculature. Take part of that 2-3 hours, 15 minutes a day, and substitute the reverse process, expansion, letting go. Sit for 15 minutes, 5 minutes, if that's all you can afford, that's fine, in a room, in a chair, and do nothing. And people say, well, that's meditation. Yes and no. I've tried meditation. I've done meditation. You could call this a form of meditation. The contrast, what I feel, between this and meditation is a sitting in stillness, and there's all sorts of forms of meditation, a clearing of your mind, a repetition of a mantra, all valid, all fantastic. And I say this in all seriousness, whatever works for you. If a round of golf makes you happy, go play a round of golf. We're trying to bring ourselves to a place where we feel bad into a place where we feel better. So do it. The difference between, let's say, standard meditation and this technique is that I am literally focusing on the musculature of my body. This is a physical process. The first thing I say to someone who say they need help, they want to feel better, I say, sit down, make a fist, release it. Clench your hands, release. Think about the zone, the face, release. I just begin to take them through this incremental release of muscular tension. It's a physical process. The great thing about it is you don't have to think about it. There's no logic to it. And the reason this works is this or this, and this is what we call this, and this is what we call that. You don't have to think. In fact, you don't want to think. We want to get into the physical processes of our body and release muscular tension. That trick, that device, you might say, fools your mind into also releasing and letting go. That's this device. That's why this works so well for me. I'm a fairly clever, intelligent person. I can talk myself out of or into anything. It's very difficult for me to control my mind with a direct assault. So I work from the body to the mind. I concentrate on the musculature, and that affects my mind. I never work directly on the mind, never. I never try to think my way out of a thinking problem. The first thing I've become conditioned to do now is when I'm faced with a problem, I just try to relax physically. Again, doesn't make logical sense. How is relaxing my body going to help me get this job? How is relaxing my body going to help me deal with this relationship issue? How is relaxing my body going to get the candidate I want elected? How is relaxing my body going to help me stop thinking or obsessing about a problem I'm having in my life? Well, it does. It helps because it brings you to a neutral, calm place. The problem won't go away. This technique doesn't solve problems. It helps put you in a place where you are more able to solve them. Zone 8, the last zone, down the legs, across the knees and into the feet. 3, 2, 1, release. You can direct your energy, your focus to any part of your body. And you can practice this anytime, anywhere. Take a moment. That's all you do with scanning. Take a moment. Step out. Step off the treadmill. Step away, detach. Take a moment to focus on your very being. Put your attention right now on your feet. Now, the moment I do that, my feet begin to throb. Your body is very responsive to love and care. When you give it the attention it wants and needs, it responds. The blood vessels open, the veins and arteries open, the blood flow increases, you feel a throbbing and a tingling. You're coming back into yourself. Give yourself that gift. Heal yourself. Think about your feet, and if you feel a slight throbbing when you do, you're moving down the path towards expansion. And when I say, on my count, release the smallest amount of tension in your feet. Just let your feet go, like you do your fist. 3, 2, 1, let it go. The feet, 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. We tend to carry a lot of tension in our feet. They work very hard. They're very sensitive. They need your help. The feet, 3, 2, 1, release. So if you were to approach someone who is in an expanded state, and you were to ask them some questions, they might answer you like this. How you doing? Fine. What are you doing? Nothing. What do you think about the election? I'm not really thinking about it. What are your plans for the day? Don't know yet. How are you feeling? Good. You worried about anything? Not at this moment. Still, quiet, calm, neutral, peace. Take a deep breath. It's a place, as I like to say, where we all deserve to bring ourselves at least a couple of times a day. I have been doing this for years, thousands and thousands of hours. I completely understand and accept the value of this process, and yet it's an effort to get myself to do it. Because every ounce of my body wants to contract, to work towards achieving my goals, to solving the problems of my life. And I'm proud of myself. I'm an achiever. I don't shirk my duties, and I get up every day and I try to figure out how to succeed. That's good. The problem is I get overly contracted. Because I see contraction as the only go-to solution to life, inevitably it becomes a process of diminishing returns. I begin to restrict, to constrain myself. I'm holding too tightly. I'm holding my breath. I'm muscularly, emotionally, and mentally contracted. I'm frozen. I've lost my effectiveness as a human being. And I feel, simply put, bad. And the instinct is to contract some more. If you feel bad, contract some more. Or if you understand instinctively you need to expand, but you don't know how to do it, you have a drink. You take a shot, you smoke a joint, you pop a pill, you go to a masseuse. We know we need to expand, we just don't know how to do it. How do I get myself out of this mess? Well, I'm here to tell you it's very, very simple. It's a matter of making a choice. 3, 2, 1, release. Take 3 deep breaths. 30 seconds of absolute stillness and silence. 15 more seconds. Now, I, like you, have spent many days, weeks, and months over the past year thinking about this election that's going on today. But I'm very happy to tell you that at this moment, if you were to ask me what I'll do if this candidate or that candidate wins, I can honestly tell you at this moment, I don't care. It's all going to be fine. When you're expanded, you have accepted everything. I will make my decisions on what to do next in my life based on whatever comes my way. But in a moment of expansion, you're just fine. Now, I'm sure within an hour I'll be watching TV and I'll be screaming and yelling about the results. But I know instinctively that at least a couple of times a day, I need to know how to bring myself to a place where it just doesn't matter. I just exist. I'm fine. You're fine. We're all going to be fine. That's it. I will repost this session on Facebook, my Facebook page. I will also post it on the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. You can like and follow that page to get alerts when there's new sessions. I always end every session with rule number one that must be followed every day. Love yourself. Everything about yourself, even the parts you don't necessarily love. Love the fact that you don't love yourself. Why? Because in being angry at yourself and loving yourself, you're trying to improve. We're all trying to be better. So love that about yourself. You're just trying to be good. You're trying to fix your problems. Everything is magnificent. Being a human being is amazing. It's astounding. Love yourself. It's essential. And when you have so much love in yourself that there's extra and it's spilling over, take that extra and pass it around because God knows we could all use it. Have yourself a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.